What did a luxury car have to offer in the 1950s to make even an ordinary Cadillac seem too ordinary? Because some buyers didn't simply want leather, chrome, and big engines. They wanted something that almost nobody else could own. Today we're going to discover the rarest American luxury cars of the 1950s. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and get ready, because the first car on this list looked like an Italian concept car wearing an American badge. 1954 Hudson Italia. This car looked far too exotic to wear the Hudson name. The brand was known for building solid, conventional American automobiles, but the Hudson Italia was something completely different. A low-slung, futuristic coupe that was built almost entirely by hand in Italy. The project was created to improve Hudson's image. It used the platform of the compact Hudson Jet, but received a hand-built aluminum body crafted by Carrozzeria touring in Milan. The result looked more like a concept car from an international auto show than a production automobile. It featured a wraparound windshield, doors that extended into part of the roof, air intakes above the headlights, and taillights housed inside chrome tubes. Every detail reinforced the feeling that you were looking at something extraordinarily rare. The interior was equally distinctive, with individual seats, red and white upholstery, and materials far superior to those found in a conventional Hudson. The Italia cost approximately $4,800, making it more expensive than a Cadillac Coupe de Ville of the same period. The problem was that under the hood sat a 3.3-liter inline-six producing approximately 114 horsepower. Its appearance promised an exotic grand tourer, but its performance remained fairly modest. Hudson's difficult financial situation ultimately doomed the project. Only 25 customer cars were built, in addition to the prototype, making it one of the rarest American automobiles of the entire decade. Today, a Hudson Italia is typically worth between $400,000 and $600,000, depending on its history, condition, and restoration quality. 1958 Packard Hawk. This wasn't simply a rare Packard. It was one of the final attempts to keep alive a brand that had once represented the very best of American luxury. By 1958, Packard no longer had the resources to develop an entirely new automobile. Its historic Detroit factory had closed, and the brand's final models were being built at Studebaker's facilities in South Bend. As a result, the Hawk was based on the Studebaker Golden Hawk, but featured its own styling, a more refined interior, and a far more extravagant identity. The front end was low and wide, with a massive grille opening that was quickly compared to the mouth of a fish. At the rear, it featured tail fins with gold accents and a faux spare tire cover integrated into the trunk lid. It was unusual, controversial, but impossible to mistake for anything else. The interior did a much better job of justifying its position as a luxury car. It featured full leather upholstery, detailed instrumentation, a metallic finish dashboard, and unusual padded armrests mounted on the outside of the side windows, inspired by sports cars and luxury yachts. Under the hood was a 4.7-liter supercharged Studebaker V8, equipped with a McCulloch supercharger and producing approximately 275 horsepower. That made it one of the fastest Packards ever sold, with a personality that was far sportier than the brand's traditional full-size luxury sedans. But neither luxury nor performance could save it. Buyers knew Packard was nearing the end, and many hesitated to purchase a car from a brand that would soon disappear, along with its dealerships and support network. Only 588 examples were built, all during 1958, the final year of Packard production. Today, a well-preserved Packard Hawk is typically worth between $50,000 and $90,000, while exceptional, correctly restored examples with excellent documentation can approach or exceed $100,000. 1957 Dual Ghia. This car was created for people who considered a Cadillac too ordinary. It combined American engineering with Italian design and handcrafted construction. Its mechanical foundation came from Dodge, but the bodies were shipped to Ghia in Turin, where much of the work was carried out almost entirely by hand. The completed cars were then shipped back to the United States for their final finishing touches. It was a slow, expensive process that was completely incompatible with mass production. And that's exactly what made it so exclusive. Its design was inspired by the Dodge Fire Arrow concept cars, featuring a low, long, elegant body. It had a clean front end, flowing lines, and a presence that felt far more European than that of most American automobiles of its era. Inside, it offered leather upholstery, unique trim, and a level of craftsmanship aimed at celebrities and business leaders. The Dual Ghia wasn't luxurious because it came with an endless list of features. It was luxurious because nearly every example felt as though it had been built specifically for its owner. Its price was approximately $7,500, placing it above many American luxury cars of the period. Its clientele included Hollywood stars, musicians, and political figures, reinforcing its reputation as one of the greatest status symbols of the 1950s. Under the hood was a 315 cubic inch Dodge V8, paired with an automatic transmission. It wasn't an extreme sports car, but it delivered more than enough performance to match its image as an exclusive Grand Tourer. Its most remarkable characteristic, however, was its rarity. Only 117 examples were built between 1956 and 1958, and it is estimated that only a portion of them still survive today. A well-preserved Dual Ghia is typically worth between $300,000 and $500,000, depending on its history, originality, and restoration quality. Cars with famous ownership history can command even higher prices. Before we continue, let me know in the comments, which of these rare luxury cars would you choose so far? The exotic Hudson Italia, the final Packard Hawk, or this exclusive Dual Ghia? Leave your answer in the comments, because the next car would take American exclusivity to an even more extreme level. 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. This Cadillac wasn't created to compete with Lincoln or Imperial. It was created to prove that the United States could build an automobile as exclusive, technologically advanced, and expensive as any European Rolls-Royce. The Brougham was essentially a concept car brought into production. Its low body, rear-hinged rear doors, and polished stainless steel roof gave it a presence unlike any conventional Cadillac. It didn't look like a more expensive version of another model. It looked like it belonged to an entirely different class. The interior took that philosophy even further. Premium leather, power controls, air conditioning, multi-way power seats, and thoughtful courtesy accessories transformed the cabin into a true showcase of American luxury. It even included unusual features such as perfume bottles, stainless steel drinking cups, and specially designed compartments for personal belongings. But its most impressive feature was its technology. The Brougham used a self-leveling air suspension, memory seat positioning, and a long list of electrical systems that were remarkably advanced for 1957. Many of these features were expensive, complex, and difficult to maintain, but Cadillac wasn't trying to build something simple. It was trying to build the very best. Under the hood was a 365 cubic inch V8 with dual 4-barrel carburetors, producing approximately 325 horsepower. It provided more than enough power to move this large luxury sedan with smoothness and authority. Although its true purpose was never outright speed, it was exclusivity. Its price was $13,074, an extraordinary amount for the time and even higher than many Rolls-Royce models. Despite that, Cadillac lost money on every single car because the development and production costs were simply too high. Only 400 examples were built for 1957, making it one of the rarest and most special Cadillacs of the decade from the very first day. Today, a well-preserved 1957 Eldorado Brougham is typically worth between $150,000 and $300,000. Exceptional examples with a high level of originality or Concours quality restorations can exceed $350,000. 1952 Cunningham C3 Continental. This automobile wasn't built simply to be sold to millionaires. It was built so Briggs Cunningham could compete against Europe. Cunningham was an American businessman and racing driver obsessed with winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans using American-built automobiles. But for his company to be officially recognized as a manufacturer, it first had to produce a limited series of road cars. That is how the C3 Continental was born. Its tubular chassis and mechanical components were prepared in Florida, but each car was then shipped to Italy, where Vignale installed a body designed by Giovanni Michelotti. The result combined European proportions with American power. It was low, long, and elegant, with an enormous hood, a rear-set cabin, and details that were finished almost entirely by hand. More than a pure sports car, It looked like a grand tourer built for someone who wanted exclusivity, performance, and a direct connection to motorsport. Under the hood was a 331 cubic inch Chrysler Firepower Hemi V8, modified with 4 carburetors and producing approximately 220 horsepower. That was a serious figure for the early 1950s and gave it the performance needed to match its exotic appearance. But that entire process came at an extraordinary cost. The C3 was priced at approximately $15,000, enough to buy several conventional American luxury cars. It wasn't simply expensive, it was one of the most expensive new automobiles in the United States. The exact production numbers vary slightly depending on the source, but it is generally accepted that only 25 to 27 examples were built, including both coupes and convertibles. That extremely limited production made the C3 one of the rarest American grand touring cars of the entire decade. Today, because so few examples have been publicly sold, its value depends heavily on the history of each individual car. A Cunningham C3 is typically worth between $700,000 and $1 million, while exceptional examples with Concours-level restorations or particularly significant histories can command even higher prices. 1951 to 1954 Muntz Jet. This car looked like it was designed for someone who wanted to live like a Hollywood star. It didn't have the formality of a Cadillac or the European elegance of the Dual Ghia. Its luxury was younger, more extravagant, and unmistakably Californian. The story began with a sports car created by engineer and racing driver Frank Curtis. Later, entrepreneur Earl "Madman" Muntz purchased the project, lengthened the body to accommodate 4 passengers, and transformed it into a grand touring car aimed at celebrities, business executives, and buyers who wanted something completely different. The result was low, long, and incredibly eye-catching. Its body used aluminum panels, while the removable roof was made of fiberglass. Inside, it featured leather seats, sporty instrumentation, and custom details. It could even be ordered with a built-in minibar, a feature that perfectly captured its personality. It wasn't simply transportation, it was entertainment on wheels. The earliest examples used Cadillac V8 engines, while many later cars received a large Lincoln V8. Depending on the configuration, it produced more than 150 horsepower and could reach speeds approaching 120 miles per hour, impressive figures for an American convertible of the early 1950s. But building the Jet was simply too expensive. Its price was around $5,500, more than many Cadillacs and Lincolns of the era. Even so, Muntz is believed to have lost approximately $1,000 on every car because the handcrafted production process, premium materials, and constant design changes consumed any possibility of making a profit. The exact production total remains a matter of debate. Some estimates suggest fewer than 200 examples, while others place the figure closer to 400 cars. Either way, very few survived, and finding one today is extremely difficult. A well-preserved Muntz Jet is typically worth between $100,000 and $200,000, while exceptional examples with proper restorations or well-documented histories can exceed $250,000. Before we continue, let me know in the comments, of the cars we've seen so far, which one would you choose to drive? The handcrafted Cunningham C3, the exclusive Dual Ghia, or this extravagant Muntz Jet? Let me know in the comments. Because the next automobile takes us back to Packard. 1956 Packard Caribbean. This wasn't simply one of the most luxurious Packards ever built. It was the brand's last great demonstration of what it was still capable of producing before leaving Detroit. The Caribbean brought together almost everything that defined American luxury during that decade. A massive body, 3-tone paint, abundant chrome, wire wheels, and an interior designed to impress even buyers accustomed to Cadillac and Lincoln. But some details were completely unexpected. The seats featured reversible cushions with leather on one side and cloth on the other, allowing owners to change the appearance and feel of the interior. The automatic transmission could be controlled through electric push buttons, and the torsion-level suspension kept the body perfectly level, even with passengers or luggage on board. Under the hood was a 374 cubic inch V8, equipped with dual 4-barrel carburetors and producing approximately 310 horsepower. In 1956, that was one of the highest horsepower ratings advertised for any American production car. That made the Caribbean much more than just a large luxury convertible. It was also fast, powerful, and technically sophisticated. However, it arrived too late to save Packard. Financial problems forced the company to end traditional Packard production in Detroit that same year, turning the Caribbean into the end of an era. Only 276 convertibles were built, along with 263 hardtops. The convertible carried a price tag of $5,995, placing it among the most expensive Packards available. Today, a good example is typically worth between $80,000 and $150,000, while exceptional, highly original, or concours quality restored cars can exceed that range. It was the last great Packard built when the name still stood for its own engineering, genuine luxury, and American prestige. 1953 Cadillac Eldorado. This Cadillac wasn't simply rare, it was the automobile that turned the Eldorado name into one of the greatest symbols of American luxury. Cadillac introduced it as a production version of its spectacular concept car, created to celebrate the brand's 50th anniversary. It retained an almost experimental appearance, with a lower body, wraparound windshield, sweeping beltline, and a metal boot cover that completely concealed the convertible top when folded. It looked like a show car that had escaped from the auto show floor. The interior featured leather upholstery, power windows, an automatic signal-seeking radio, and virtually every comfort feature Cadillac had to offer. Even the dashboard was wrapped in leather, reinforcing the feeling that this was something far more special than a conventional Series 62. Under the hood was Cadillac's well-known 5.4-liter V8, producing approximately 210 horsepower, paired with an automatic transmission. Its exclusivity was also reflected in its price. It cost $7,750, nearly twice as much as a standard Cadillac convertible, and even more than the large Series 75 limousine. At the time, it was the most expensive American production automobile available, but very few people could afford one. Only 532 examples were built, representing just half of 1% of Cadillac's total sales in 1953. That limited production made the first Eldorado one of the most important and collectible models in the brand's history. Today, these cars typically trade around $180,000, although recent examples have sold for approximately $185,000 to $275,000, depending on originality, restoration quality, and provenance. 1957 Imperial Crown Limousine. This car wasn't built to be driven. It was built to be seen stepping out of. It represented an extreme expression of American luxury. Cadillac offered large limousines, but Chrysler wanted something even more exclusive, an automobile built almost entirely by hand, reserved for heads of state, business leaders, and some of the most powerful people in the world. The process began in the United States, using an Imperial body mounted on the reinforced convertible chassis. The car was then shipped to Turin, Italy, where Ghia cut it apart, extended it by more than 20 inches, and rebuilt it into a massive chauffeur-driven limousine. Each example could require approximately 1 month of handcrafting. The result measured more than 20 feet in length and had a presence that was impossible to ignore. Its body combined Chrysler's dramatic forward look, tail fins with an extended center section, a more formal roofline, and an additional side window. Inside, it could be equipped with a chauffeur partition, folding jump seats, and a rear passenger compartment finished with materials selected specifically for each owner. It wasn't simply a longer Imperial, it was practically a private office on wheels. Its price was equally extraordinary. In 1957, it cost approximately $15,075, more than 3 times the price of a standard Imperial hardtop, and roughly twice the cost of a Cadillac Series 75. Only 36 examples were built during 1957. The collaboration between Imperial and Ghia continued for several more years, but the entire series of Italian-built limousines totaled only about 132 cars, confirming that it was never intended for the general public. Today, establishing an exact value is difficult because so few appear at public auctions. Depending on its history, condition, and restoration, an Imperial Ghia is typically worth between $150,000 and $300,000, while examples with exceptional provenance can command even higher prices. 1953 Oldsmobile Fiesta. This Oldsmobile was created to prove that extreme luxury didn't belong exclusively to Cadillac. In 1953, General Motors introduced three special convertibles to showcase its leadership in automotive design: the Cadillac Eldorado, the Buick Skylark, and the Oldsmobile Fiesta. All three looked like concept cars, yet they could be purchased directly from a dealership, at least by those who could afford them. The Fiesta was based on the Oldsmobile 98, although its body was lower and more elegant. The wraparound windshield, positioned several inches lower than on the standard model, gave it a much more modern appearance. It also featured a redesigned beltline, abundant chrome trim, and unique wheel covers that would later inspire other Oldsmobile models. Inside, virtually everything came standard: special leather upholstery, power steering, power brakes, the Hydra-Matic automatic transmission, power windows, a power-adjustable front seat, and a hydraulically operated convertible top. The Fiesta wasn't designed for buyers to choose options. It already came equipped as a complete showcase of American luxury. Under the hood was the legendary 303 cubic inch Rocket V8, nearly 5 liters in displacement, producing approximately 170 horsepower. It cost around $5,717, nearly twice the price of a standard 98 convertible, and even more than the Buick Skylark. For many buyers, paying that much for an Oldsmobile was difficult to justify, especially when Cadillac carried a more prestigious image. As a result, only 458 examples were built, all during 1953. The Fiesta name would return years later on Oldsmobile station wagons, but this spectacular convertible never came back. Today, because so few examples survive and public sales are extremely rare, values vary considerably. A well-restored example is typically worth between $100,000 and $180,000, while exceptional cars can exceed $200,000. And in the end, these automobiles prove that true American luxury in the 1950s wasn't always found in the most famous models. Sometimes it was found in production runs of only a few dozen cars, handcrafted bodies, projects that were simply too expensive to survive, and automobiles created for buyers who considered a conventional Cadillac far too ordinary. Now, I want to hear your opinion. Which of these rare luxury cars would you choose for your collection? Let me know in the comments. And to continue exploring the most exclusive side of that decade, watch our video about the most expensive American cars of the 1950s. Because some of those models weren't just luxurious and rare, they cost more than a house.